This is Aiden Fucci, a 14-year-old boy who lured his classmate into the woods and never let her come back alive. What investigators discovered in those woods that evening shook an entire nation.
And actually called 911, called the sheriff's office. We went out there and actually processed the body and recovered the body. Since then, we actually have arrested a suspect by the name of Aiden Fucci, F-U-C-C-I, 14-year-old. He's currently in custody with the Department of Juvenile Justice, charged with second-degree murder.
But what they found on his phone made it even worse.
In my 20 years of investigating homicides, this is probably one of the most tragic and difficult cases that we have faced.
Was it rage? Was it an obsession? Or was something far darker living beneath the surface of a face that everyone around him thought they knew? The evidence was chilling, the details were devastating, and the question that haunted an entire community was not just how, but why. To fully understand what really happened in the woods that night, we need to know who this suspect truly is. Aiden Sean Fucci. Aiden Sean Fucci. He was born on November 6, 2006, just 2 years older than his victim, Tristyn Tyne Bailey, and living less than a mile away in the same neighborhood. He was the only child of Crystal Smith and Jason Fucci. Aiden was raised primarily by his mother, Crystal Smith, after his parents separated. His father, Jason, carried a criminal record that included charges of child abuse, neglect, and an inappropriate relationship with a minor. Behind closed doors, Aiden had grown up in a household marked by emotional neglect, a history of mental illness, and the presence of a physically abusive stepfather. He had been diagnosed with ADHD. His behavior at school had already raised concerns long before anyone connected his name to a crime.
Well, at first, I didn't know if it was him or his friend that was in ISS, and that's why they were in ISS, because one was saying the other one said it.
But the allegation was that Aiden threatened to throw another student out a window.
That's correct.
A female student.
That's correct.
Okay.
But here is what makes this case different from so many others. The warning signs were not hidden. They were not subtle. They were spoken out loud. To friends, to a girlfriend, even to a young cousin.
He had said he said his knife, he wanted to slit somebody's throat, and he said it'd be satisfying. He's talked about killing people. He's talked about fighting people. I've seen him practice stabbing motions with his knife.
And every single person who heard them dismissed them as the dark humor of a troubled teenager. That decision would cost Tristyn Bailey her life. May 9th, 2021. It was Mother's Day, a day meant for flowers, family brunch, and warm embraces. But in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Durbin Crossing, St. Johns County, Florida, Mother's Day would become a date that no one in that community would ever forget. At approximately 12:30, 13-year-old Tristyn Tyne Bailey slipped out of her home barefoot, dressed in nothing but a black tank top and shorts. No shoes, no warning, no goodbye. She had been contacted by a 14-year-old classmate, Aiden Fucci, who had obtained her phone number through a mutual friend and convinced her to come outside and meet up with him in the middle of the night. What Tristyn did not know was that she would never make it back home. Surveillance cameras in the neighborhood told the early part of the story. At 1:15 a.m., footage captured Aiden and Tristyn walking together near the Durbin Crossing North Amenity Center, 2 children in the dark, side by side. At 1:45 a.m., they were seen again, heading east along Saddlestone Drive together. Then, they vanished from the footage entirely. At 3:27 a.m., the same cameras picked up Aiden again. But this time, he was alone, running westward, carrying his white shoes in his hands rather than wearing them. No Tristyn, no explanation. Just a boy running alone through the dark in the dead of night on Mother's Day. When morning came, Tristyn's family began looking for her to celebrate the holiday together. By 9 a.m., the smiles had turned to panic. She was nowhere to be found. What followed was a massive neighborhood search. Residents, volunteers, and sheriff aviation units all combing the area, desperate to find the missing 13-year-old cheerleader and 7th grader at Patriot Oaks Academy. At 6 p.m. that evening, a jogger made a discovery that would stop the entire nation in its tracks. Tristyn Bailey's body was found in a wooded area near a retention pond off Saddlestone Drive, approximately 140 feet from the water's edge. She was clothed in black sweatpants and a t-shirt. St. Johns County Sheriff Robert Hardwick addressed the public in a press conference on May 10th, describing what had been done to Tristyn Bailey as a cold-blooded act and praising the massive community effort that had gone into the search. The residents of Durbin Crossing, the very neighborhood where Tristyn had grown up, cheered at games, and walked to school, were left completely shattered.
This morning at approximately 10 o'clock this morning, the St. Johns County was notified by the family of Tristyn Bailey that she was reported missing this morning at 10 o'clock this morning. 13 years old, white female. They gave a clothing description. The family last saw her last night at approximately midnight, and at that time, the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office in this community went to work this morning. This was an exhausting search by the neighborhood, by the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. We have located a body that is preliminarily identified as Tristyn Bailey. Again, it's in the early stages, but we will verify that through the process. I will tell you this again, we've notified the St. Johns County School District. This is a grieving community, and we're going to respect that grieving community. And I ask you that you put this out there and you help us stand behind this community and let them grieve together.
Neighbors who had joined the search, not knowing what the night would reveal, held vigils in her memory as the full weight of what had happened began to sink in. The medical examiner's findings were devastating. Tristyn had suffered 114 separate stab wounds, 49 of which were defensive wounds on her arms and hands, evidence that she had fought desperately for her life. The wounds were concentrated on her head, neck, chest, arms, and hands. The medical examiner determined that her life had been taken sometime between 1:45 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., placing the timeline directly within those missing hours between her last sighting on camera and Aiden's solo appearance running through the neighborhood. But the evidence didn't stop there. Investigators recovered a buck knife with its tip broken off from the retention pond near where Tristyn's body was found. During the autopsy, the missing tip of that very knife was recovered, embedded in Tristyn's scalp. The match was undeniable. A search warrant executed at Aiden Fucci's home around midnight uncovered a knife sheath that matched the recovered buck knife perfectly. Bloody clothing was also seized, wet jeans, a t-shirt, and a pair of white Nike shoes, all bearing blood traces that DNA testing would later confirm matched Tristyn Bailey. The items had been found in his bathroom and bathroom sink. Cuts and scratches on Aiden's hands were consistent with a violent physical struggle. But perhaps the most chilling piece of evidence in this entire case wasn't found in the woods. It wasn't found in his bedroom either. It was found on his phone. Friends and his girlfriend later came forward with information that, in hindsight, made everything far more terrifying. Within the month leading up to that night, Aiden had reportedly made direct threats, telling people around him that he wanted to take someone into the woods and stab them.
He said that he would just walk at night or something and find like a random person walking too and just drag them in the woods and stab them.
Okay.
He said that he thinks it's gonna happen soon. He said I should expect it within the month.
Graphic drawings and homemade shanks were also reportedly found inside his bedroom. Then came another devastating twist. Home surveillance footage captured Aiden's own mother, Crystal Smith, scrubbing his blood-stained jeans in their home that very afternoon, while investigators were still out searching for Tristyn. How does a 14-year-old boy do something like this while his mother aided in covering the truth? The clock had just passed 3 in the morning on May 10, 2021. Mother's Day had barely ended when deputies descended on the Fucci residence in Durbin Crossing, St. Johns County, Florida. The midnight search warrant had already told them everything they needed to know. All of it was found inside the bedroom and bathroom of a 14-year-old boy who, just hours earlier, had been sitting in the back of a patrol car posting mocking videos on Snapchat while investigators searched for his missing classmate.
Having fun in a cop car.
Yep. Tristyn.
What's up, guys?
Yep.
Tristyn, if you walk out the
When you see this in a month.
The inconsistencies in his story, the surveillance footage, the Snapchat posts, the physical evidence, it all pointed in one direction. During his interrogation at approximately 4:30 p.m. on May 9th, hours before his arrest, Aiden had sat across from investigators and constructed a story. He claimed that he and Tristyn had simply parted ways early in the night. But as detectives pressed harder, his story began to unravel in real time. He then shifted his account, claiming that Tristyn had grabbed him inappropriately.
Hey, are you Aiden? Yes, ma'am. Hey, I'm Detective Police Officer. We're here at the Sheriff's Office. We're trying to figure out where Tristyn's at, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble or anything like that. Obviously, I'm more concerned right now about her safety and what she's doing and where she could be hanging out. You're telling him that there may be another path that he's maybe staying at? Or she's staying at? What's the path?
There's like a trail that goes super deep down there.
Down into the woods?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you heard from her at all? No? Okay. All right. So, are you willing to kind of give me a statement about what's going on with her?
Yeah, so we're at Trey's house, and then I stayed there till probably like 1:50 a.m. And then I was really late to be home, so I just had to leave, or else my mom would like seriously just kill me.
Okay.
So we started walking home, and then next to like where that brick wall starts up there,
okay,
is where like she touched my and I like pushed her off me real hard, and then I just kind of like kind of walked away out of anger.
Now down this path that you're telling me about, is this like a place where kids go to like do drugs or drink? What?
It's a place for people to like chill out and do
okay.
Just water.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you, Aiden. We're gonna try to see if we can locate her over there. All right. All right.
It's like when you're going down there, you can like see that there's a path. It's just like an open area in the woods, and then you just keep going down the trail. Yeah, I'll try. There's like a tree that you can walk on to go farther.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Thank you, Aiden.
That he pushed her in response, that she hit her head from the fall, and that he walked away and left her there alive. 114 wounds, and he wanted investigators to believe he simply walked away and left her alive. Aiden Fucci was taken into custody that same night and booked into the Volusia Regional Juvenile Detention Center, but here is where things took a significant turn. Upon his initial arrest, Aiden was charged with second-degree murder. However, as investigators continued piecing together the full picture, it became increasingly clear to prosecutors that this was no impulsive act. This was planned. On May 25, 2021, just 15 days after his arrest, a grand jury reviewed the totality of the evidence and returned with a decision. Aiden Fucci's charge was upgraded to first-degree premeditated murder.
That is murder in the second degree, although it is a first-degree felony. I have reviewed the arrest report.
On May 28th, he was formally arraigned and tried as an adult. No bond was granted. Aiden Fucci was going nowhere. Now let's go back, because there are details surrounding his arrest that are almost impossible to believe. But perhaps what stunned the nation even more than the crime itself was what unfolded in the hours surrounding his arrest. While sitting in that patrol car with investigators actively searching for Tristyn just outside, Aiden had opened Snapchat and posted a photo with the caption, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristyn lately?" followed by a taunting video. Not a trace of fear, not a trace of remorse, just a 14-year-old boy mocking the disappearance of a girl whose life he had just taken. And then there was his mother. Home surveillance footage captured Crystal Smith that same evening scrubbing her son's blood-stained jeans in their home while a community outside was desperately searching for a missing 13-year-old girl. Crystal Smith was subsequently arrested on June 4th and charged with tampering with evidence. Hidden camera footage from inside the interview room captured yet another deeply troubling moment. Aiden's own parents sitting beside him before investigators entered.
Have they been asking questions?
Well, they asked like what color is my hair and what color are my eyes and all that, and how tall I am, and then where we lived.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood, down our main street.
Is she good?
No,
No,
she's not.
she's dead.
That isn't my problem.
But the most emotionally devastating moments were still to come. It inside the courtroom. By early 2023, the case of Aiden Fucci had gripped the entire nation for nearly 2 years. The community was still grieving, a family was still broken, and a courtroom in St. Johns County, Florida, was preparing to deliver what everyone hoped would be the closest thing to justice that the Bailey family would ever receive. Jury selection was scheduled to begin on February 6, 2023. Prosecutors had spent months building what was already a devastating case. Snapchat posts, bloody knife evidence, DNA matching, surveillance footage, and multiple witness statements confirming that Aiden had made direct threats about taking someone into the woods in the weeks leading up to that night.
The defendant made statements to several people that he intended to kill someone. He didn't say who that was, but he indicated to witnesses that he was going to kill someone by taking them in the woods and stabbing them.
The evidence was overwhelming. The premeditation was undeniable. But the courtroom never made it to jury selection. Because on the morning of February 6, 2023, moments before the process was set to begin, Aiden Fucci stood up and entered a guilty plea to first-degree murder. Just like that.
Mr. Fucci just wanted to make a short statement.
I just want to say I plead not guilty. And that I'm sorry for the Bailey family and my family.
Okay.
Now stood before a courtroom and admitted, in plain words, that he had intentionally taken Tristyn Bailey's life, stabbing her 114 times. In a brief statement to the court, Aiden Fucci offered an apology to both families, saying he was sorry for the pain and suffering he had caused. The words landed hollow in a room filled with people who had spent nearly 2 years living with the consequences of what he had done on that Mother's Day morning. The guilty plea avoided a full trial, but immediately opened the door to the sentencing phase, and that is where the real battle began. The defense argued for a minimum sentence of 40 years, pointing to Aiden's age at the time of the crime and appealing to the court's discretion in sentencing a juvenile offender.
What we're trying to protect is his constitutional right to a fair sentencing hearing. But again, we're not dealing with prior convictions.
The prosecution pushed back firmly, citing the sheer brutality of the act: 114 wounds, 49 of them defensive, evidence of a desperate and prolonged struggle, as proof that nothing short of life imprisonment was appropriate. What followed was a multi-day sentencing hearing that left almost no one in that courtroom untouched. Graphic autopsy testimony detailed the nature and location of each wound, to the head, the neck, the chest, the arms and hands.
114 stab wounds, 49 defensive wounds, 35 wounds to the head and neck, 29 to the back and shoulder, and 6 fatal wounds. This court has reviewed and seen more than its fair share of autopsy photos. The autopsy photos in this particular case were particularly difficult. The 49 defensive wounds indicate that Tristyn Bailey was conscious, that she was aware, and that she was doing everything she could to fend off this attack.
And then the Bailey family stepped forward. Tristyn's sister, Alexis, approached the court and stood before everyone present. One by one, slowly and deliberately, she dropped 114 teal stones into a glass jar. one for every single wound her sister had endured in those woods. The sound of each stone hitting the glass echoed through the silence of the courtroom. There were no words needed. The weight of those 114 stones said everything.
This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 stab wounds that my sister had to endure.
Then came Tristyn's mother, Stacy Bailey. She looked directly at Aiden Fucci and described what he had taken from her family in 2 words that needed no elaboration: pure evil. On March 24, 2023, Judge R. Lee Smith delivered his sentence. After carefully considering the evidence, the testimony, and the character of the case before him, the judge noted that Aiden Fucci had demonstrated what he described as average maturity for his age, meaning this was not a case of a severely underdeveloped or mentally incapacitated child. He further noted that Aiden had acted alone and that beyond a chilling and deeply disturbing desire to kill, no clear motive had ever been established for what he did to Tristyn Bailey that night. Fucci's grandmother, Deborah Spywalk, took the stand and, with trembling words, begged the court for leniency, pleading with the judge not to take her grandson away forever. But well, Aiden Sean Fucci was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of a sentence review after 25 years.
There is only one appropriate sentence in this case. I sentence you to life in prison.
He currently serves his sentence at Cross City Correctional Institution in Florida. As for Tristyn Tyne Bailey, she was 13 years old, a cheerleader, a 7th grader, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. She had her whole life ahead of her, and she deserved so much better than the fate that found her in that woods. Tristyn's family channeled their grief into purpose. Her mother Stacy and the Bailey family established the Tristyn Bailey Memorial Foundation, an organization dedicated to advocating for child victim photo privacy laws, ensuring that images of child victims could never be exploited or circulated without family consent. Rest in peace, Tristyn. You are not forgotten. Thanks for watching. I sincerely appreciate you in this journey of uncovering the truth behind the case of Aiden Sean Fucci. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your loved ones to create more awareness about our children's safety. Love you all.